Okay, and I feel like it's a meme at this point, but hello YouTube, I'm back. And I am sorry, I must apologize for the long time span between videos. I keep telling you guys I'm gonna get one out. I'm gonna get one out on next week, guys, don't worry. I'm gonna get one out next week, everybody, don't worry. And it just never happens. You know, life is crazy. Many things are going down in this household. Let me adjust this camera a little bit. I'm trying a new setup again, and oh, you know, I'm doing my best out here. You know, I'm trying. All right, so let's just skip past this point. I know I promised you guys I was going to do Cyclops, but in the midst of the chaos, I have still yet to practice or even play any games or anything with Cyclops. I have read quite a few. I've watched some videos and read some, other guides and stuff on it. So I'm doing my research before I attempt, and then give you guys my 2 cents on what I think about him. But I do not feel confident to tell you guys anything about Cyclops as of right now. Now, all that being said, double discounter, or disclaimer, I guess would be this. I play this game strictly for fun. I think I'm pretty sure I've said this in the last videos that I've done. I'm not competitive, I don't go to tournaments or anything like that. I'm just here to help you get introduced to the characters, and then maybe try some different strategies that are just good rules of thumb. Is sort of how I do these breakdown guides, or these strategy guides, these, perspectives, whatever you want to call this. This is my role, okay? So it's also open discussion. So those of you who are good at the Gunslinger, or at the characters that I'm breaking down, please, please, please leave your tips and tricks and everything you guys do down in the comments below. I already have a couple of you guys doing that in my previous videos, and it's been some actually banger tips, boys and girls. So go ahead and, if you haven't, go back to those videos that I've had before. Just look through the comments. There's some really, really good advice. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the Gunslinger, shall we? So she's one of those characters without the bottom left ability, and due to that, she has less overall things that you can go for with her, roll objectives. So keep that in mind. She's kind of like the Treant, and I think the Samurai is another one that has like an ability. Who else is it? I'm trying to think who else has this. The Paladin, I think. I actually think Doctor Strange has this kind of a situation. I think maybe Psylocke. I can't remember. We'll probably be doing her soon. But there are quite a few. Black Panther, I think, has it as well. There are a few that have this sort of like, you don't have a roll ability here, but it gives you some sort of additional effect. Hers are reload tokens. As you can see, my hands are upside down because I have this weird setup to where that's just how it is right now. So ignore that. So with that in mind, that's going to be primarily one of the reasons why you play this character, is for that reload token. And then also if you just like either the aesthetics, or you think some of her cards are good in card play, because it's not going to be your baseboard values. The Gunslinger is extraordinarily weak on her baseboard values, but you do get your reload every upkeep turn. So a reload is going to average around 2 extra damage per reload used, because you roll your dice and then you do half of the dice rolled up. So it is going to average about 2. So all of these numbers, you can actually add 2 to them basically, and that's going to give you your average values for the Gunslinger. So, but there is the instance or chance that it could only roll a 1 or a 2, and you're only adding 1 damage, which is extraordinarily punishing and just painful to play when you're using this character. It's actually to the point to when we first started playing with this character, me and my friends and my wife, we thought she was the worst. We actually hate this character. No one plays her ever. I try to, sometimes I'll pull her out and then try to make her work, but man, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. So let's just go ahead and get into her tokens, and then and then we'll get into her abilities. So here is her leaflet list. So she has evasives. So for those of you who have watched my other videos on the characters that have evasives, like the monk and the moon elf, they have the same thing. So you can stack up to 3 of them, and then you can roll your dice on a 1 or a 2, you dodge everything, and then anything else you receive damage. So now here's her special thing, her reload token, and I've already explained it to you. You roll 1 die, and then you add half of whatever it is rounded up to your attack. Now it has to be an attack, so you can't do this on defense. I tried to do this on defense one time, and I got corrected. One of my friends were like, no, you can only do this on attack, so you can't even increase her defense with your reload tokens, which is kind of painful, honestly. So it's not just damage in general, it's only attacks that go through. So keep that in mind. There will be instances where that matters. And then she has knockdown. So knockdown it's good if you can apply it, but it's bad because it's not exactly easy to apply. But with this character, it kind of is. There's a caveat with her. She can apply pretty frequently on a specific upgrade card. And to get rid of it, so what happens is if it is applied and they don't get rid of it, you can't take your offensive roll phase. So they basically just skip out on an attack, which is good. So it's basically an evasive token that's guaranteed if they can't pay for it. But technically, you're always going to be able to pay for it because you draw a card and gain a CP every upkeep turn every income phase on your turn. So you'll always just even if you're out of cards, you'll always gain a CP, draw the card, sell the card, and then get rid of the and then pay the two CP in order to do whatever it is. Now, if you ever get into the game state with this character, when you're able to keep applying it this way, she becomes oppressive, and I will explain that when we get to her board. So keep that in mind. This is a powerful token ability in those rare scenarios where you can just keep applying it, and then they have to basically use all of their income or economy to get rid of it. So yeah, there's that. And the last thing is bounty, and I think it's not necessarily a a personalized or special status effect, but she's the only one who has it so far. I can't remember what they call it, like special or personal. I don't remember what it's called. I'm holding this in the camera. Sorry, as I like shake this whole thing around. Sorry guys. I'm gonna have to edit a lot of this out. I'm gonna just leave it. I don't know. So bounty is basically a targeted, but instead of two damage when you it's persistent. So you stick it on somebody and it stays on there until they remove it themselves. It doesn't just go away. But it's basically a targeted, so that's what targeted does. But instead of 2 damage, you get 1 damage and then 1 CP when an attack goes through. And this is anybody who hits the character that has bounty on them. So if you're playing teams, this is kind of valuable. If you're playing King of the Hill, it's ridiculous, and sometimes it gets you targeted as the Gunslinger. It's kind of like a full chaos thing, and so that's that. So we'll talk about that later on as well. So here is her dice anatomy. 1, 2, and 3 are all bullets. 4 and 5 are dashes, and then a 6 is a bullseye. So that's that. All right, let's see if we can get it refocused here. See if I can't get my camera to focus. Possibly. Try that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so here, remember, keep in mind that you do get reloads every upkeep on your turn. But look at these damage numbers. 3, 4, 5. That is extremely low. That's the lowest, I think, in the game. I might be wrong on that. Either her and then the Huntress and the what's his name? The Tactician all have really low numbers. So it's one of these 3 characters are going to have the lowest on just baseboard values. And then you have no additional effects. This is one of the worst, if not the worst, basic attack in the game. Yeah, don't ever use it if you can help it. It does have upgrades, but I don't think the upgrades are worth it. Let me find them here. Here is upgrade number 1. And I think that might be the only one, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I played her, and I actually haven't done a whole bunch of review right beforehand. I kind of had to, it's just been so long I had to just go off the cuff here from memory. Yeah, so this is the only upgrade that you have in your deck. It costs 2 CP, which is really expensive for what it does. It only gives you 1 extra damage on each rank or level or whatever. And then on a 4 of a kind, which will almost never happen, you do get to inflict knockdown. Yeah, no, I don't advise using this. So that's that. Moving on. Her second ability, so Bounty Hunter. This is how you apply bounty, and it's the only way to apply a bounty on your base board. There might be other ways on upgrades, I can't remember. But it's actually not insanely easy to roll. You need two 6s in order to roll this, which is kind of hard to do. And you want to get it early because it's going to be kind of useless late. And I don't even fully like bounty all that much to begin with. In 1v1s, it's fine, but when you're playing King of the Hill or teams, it's fine in teams. King of the Hill, it actually is just I almost don't even use it because it people get mad at you when it happens. So then they like target you purposely. So anyway, it's good undefendable damage, I guess, when you're adding the extra reloaded damage, which is fine. It's just so hard to roll, so it's not reliable. And you do want to activate this on like your first 1 to 2, 1 to 3 turns. But if you don't, then you're kind of screwed as this character because you really need that extra damage, and you don't really need the extra CP, but you do need that extra damage. Every little bit helps, and because it's a hard combination to roll, it kind of hurts you here. So down to the other bottom left-hand side. Quick draw, I already explained that. Oh wait, I totally forgot about the upgrade. Hold on guys, I think there is an upgrade to this. Yeah, there is. Okay, so here's the upgrade. It is 1 CP, which is kind of enticing. I do like the fact that it's 1. It could have even been 0. All it does is add 1 damage to your undefendable damage. So, but it could be, I don't know. The problem is the low likelihood of you rolling this. I don't know, but it is one of your options that you're going to kind of want to be going for, and you sort of have to roll ultimates and mini ults with this character to even kind of be in the game. So it does give you a fallback roll if you're going for ults and you like to play that way. And heck, you might as well. It's kind of like the meme with this character is like, if you're rolling hot, this character's awesome. If you're rolling bad, this character sucks. And that's you know, it's to be expected. So because there's so many different things that you're rolling for. You're rolling for your reload damage applications. You're rolling for your you have roll-offs with your straights. And then you have roll-offs with your defense, and then you have roll-offs, not roll-offs, but you have rolls for evasive. So there's a lot of like random rolling with this character. So there's a lot of decision points of what to use some of your dice manipulation cards on, which can actually be an interesting take on this character. But a lot of times you're just spending resources to have your stuff get messed with anyway, and then disrupted. So there's that to consider. I know I just jumped around everywhere, but I'm saying all that to come back to trying to figure out what you want to play your cards on with this character is very important. This might be an option just because it's so cheap and it's one of your main role objectives that you're trying to go for early on, and you're going to take it whenever you get it. But it's really up to you. Personally, I think you almost always have to put it down if you have it, unless it's like the last 2 to 3 turns and you're just not going to be able to get any value off of it. But even in the mid rounds, I actually do like to play this card. That's just my personal preference and opinion. I know people who have mathed out this game are probably going to disagree, so let me know down in the comments below. Let us know. But yeah, I do like this card, just because it is inexpensive and it is sort of, it is your only undefendable option currently until you have other upgrades. All right, moving on to quick draw. Like I said, don't forget quick draws, dude. This happens every upkeep, at the beginning of every turn. Just always take that token. And if this is the character that you're playing, that's one of the reasons why. So you shouldn't forget it. But it does have an upgrade, and the upgrade costs 2 CP. And what it does is it allows you to re-roll your reload token. So if you don't like the result, you can re-roll it. That's pretty nice. So if you get a 1 or 2, go ahead and re-roll it. If you get a 2 or 3, kind of risky. So I would only do it on 1s or 2s, but so that basically guarantees a 2 or more on your addition of your damage, which is good. So yeah, you can. I mean, I think you can play this card, but it is kind of expensive. It's 2 CP for what you get, and you're already sort of averaging 2 anyway. What it ends up doing is I think it ends up making you average like 2.5, I think is the math. Or maybe a little bit. Technically, that is the math. It might be like 2.25 or 2.33 or something like that, because it almost guarantees the 2 or more, but it doesn't quite guarantee it because you could still roll a 1 or a 2 even if you re-roll. So I don't know. The payoff to it is not exactly great, but if you get it early enough and you just keep, you can just keep slapping them with 2 to 3 extra damage every turn. It's relatively powerful. So if you're one of those weighted dice people who just know how to roll, you have that roll technique. That roll technique. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. There's my roll technique. If you can get 5 and 6 every time, yeah, it's worth it. No, I usually sell that card. That's just me though. Okay, take cover. This is a really good ability. This is your cover shot for the Moon Elf. You deal 5 damage and you gain 1 evasive. So, like I said on my previous videos or breakdowns, you want to gain more than just 1 of these tokens when you're dealing these damage, because you need more than just 1 for the success rate when you're using these tokens, because also people are going to be targeting these tokens because they know that's what you're wanting to do to get rid of them. So you need to gain more than just 1. Otherwise, you don't stay up in the race of the game. So it is a good ability. It's going to be one of the ones that you want to go for, but it is kind of risky because you don't have a lot of fallbacks with this ability. So you're in the same situation as the Moon Elf, where you have to split this with your straights here, and you're kind of playing this do-si-do here. So it does have an upgrade, I believe. And it does kind of give you the fallback roll if you miss the bullets for gaining, inflict everything. So you do actually, so there is another bounty infliction. I thought there was, just couldn't remember. So you do gain 2 here, and then you inflict the bounty, and then it does increase the damage by 1. It's 2 CP, it's expensive. I want to say this is one of the ones you probably do upgrade just because you're pretty heavily reliant on evasives, because you have to be defensive with this character specifically. You've got to be kind of defensive in multiple ways because you're not going to have a whole lot of damage. No, I could be wrong, I might be completely wrong, and you're hitting your reloads every turn, and then you get the right upgrades, and then you're always winning your roll-offs on your defense and stuff like that, and then this character feels broken. But any character that gets a lot of good rolls is going to feel that way too. So I do like this upgrade. I think you do play it most of the time, and always it's only in the first 3 turns or so for a standard upgrade. All right, that's all that. Let's go over here in the middle. So this is your ultimate. So Film with Lead. Obviously, it's all 6s. You gain evasive, you inflict bounty, you deal knockdown, and then you deal 10 undefendable damage. But it says if you spend a reload, you may re-roll that reload 1 time. So it's theoretically 12 undefendable damage, and then all these things, or 13 because you're inflicting bounty, if you read into it that way. It's good. It's not the greatest, but it's good. There's that. Anyway, moving on. There's not too much to talk about it. small straight here. So it's really underwhelming at base. It has 2 upgrades, and honestly, they're kind of expensive for what they do, but you're going to have to at least play one of these, and it's good that she has 2, I think, for that reason. I think that's why they put 2 in there. So even though they are expensive, and it's not exactly the greatest ability to activate in Dice Stone in general, it is probably one of her stronger abilities for her, so you're going to be relying on this. This, like I said, this and then take cover is going to be your bread and butter kind of a situation. What you do is, after you do this, each of you and your opponent roll a die. If your roll is equal or greater, you're going to deal 7 damage, which is average or kind of below average because you don't even get any like additional token effects, which a lot of other characters do at 7 damage. But she has a negative effect. If you don't roll equal or higher, then you're only dealing 5 damage. That is terrible. Now, keep in mind, you have your reload token, so technically you could add like 1 to 2 damage, like one worst case scenario, so 8 and then 6, but man, that feels real bad. Especially because this isn't undefendable, so it's going to get mitigated in some shape or form or another. So even if you're trying to add this, reload token thing, it's probably going to get the reload damage is going to get mitigated. So you're basically just dealing the base damage anyway. Thinking about it that way. So it does have 2 upgrades. Here's upgrade number 1, and it costs 2 CP. And then what it does is it increases the damage from 7 to 8 and from 5 to 6. That's okay. It's only 1 damage though. Yeah, there's that. So you're going to have to play one of these is what I'm saying. I actually prefer the second upgrade because it kind of helps you here. So it increases your damage from 8 to 9, but it keeps it at 6 there. I would have loved for that to be 7. I don't know why they didn't do that, but this is what it is. Does it also let you reroll? No, it doesn't let you reroll. Okay, for some reason I thought it did. All right, well, that sucks. Yeah, you're going to need one of these. They're expensive for what they do, but you have to have one of them is basically what I'm trying to say. All right, that's done. Whew, moving on. Let's go down to the large straight since we just did the straight. So, same thing. It's easy to disrupt by, people just messing with that middle number. But you do like this ability because you're gaining 2 evasives. That's good. And then you're dealing 7 damage. That's not bad. 2 evasives with 7 damage is good, but it's hard to roll for. It does have an upgrade for 2 CP. Increase your damage by 1, but this, my friends, is where this character shines. If you can get this early enough, dude, this backup roll is absolutely bananas. It's bonkers, okay? This is actually a relatively easy roll objective. It's only 3, right? So you do need 1/6, and you need 2 dashes, but you're going to get the 2 dashes. The question is whether or not you can get that 1/6. But this is actually sneakily strong. So you're gaining an evasive, all right? Inflicting a knockdown, and then dealing 1 undefendable damage, plus you gained your reload token at the beginning of the turn. So you can basically look at this as 3 undefendable damage, an evasive, and a knockdown. If you just spam this ability almost every turn, if you get that card early enough, this character's kind of ridiculous. And that's just a little secret for you because this character needed something because this character's terrible. Otherwise, don't let your friends and family know that I taught you that little trick, okay? Find this one, play it, turn 3 or heck even 4, and just spam the living snot out of this ability, and they will have a terrible time. The only characters that can kind of handle this are the high econ characters where they can just pay for that knockdown every turn or whatever, but you're getting an evasive knockdown and dealing 3 undefendable damage, so they don't even get a defensive roll to hit you back. It's kind of nuts. It's really good, and it's unassuming. You wouldn't think that. You wouldn't think that on the first play round, but when you do it, it's dumb. All right, there's that. That was the sneaky play. Back up to the top, your mini ult deals 6 damage and inflict knockdown. Undefendable damage, good. So you can increase it to 2, by 2 to 8. That's pretty good. I do like that. It's hard to roll for though. Now it's 2 CP to upgrade it. You increase 2 damage, and then you can add another 2. That's pretty strong. For a mini ult. And then the micro ult is gain evasive, inflict bounty, all the things. And then you can choose 2 different opponents if you really want to. That's not very good. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. If you get it early and then you're going to start playing, all right, let's do ult chasing. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead and play all that. But yeah, it's not the greatest. But hey, this ability is actually not too bad. It's somewhat worth it if that's your playstyle. So, okay. Typically, I don't advise doing that, but if it's your playstyle, it's your playstyle. That's hey, and sometimes it's just how you have to play dice. Go for it, bruh. Go for it. All right. Last thing, her defensive roll. So, you and your opponent each roll 1 die. And if your roll is greater, not even equal to, if it's just greater, so you kind of lose more than 50% of the time on base, you can either deal 3 damage back or mitigate half of the damage rounded up. Okay, so that's if you roll greater than, okay? If it is equal to or less than, right? If you don't roll greater than, then you only deal 1 damage back. It's kind of bad. And at first glance, it sort of feels strong or looks strong, but because you're only doing one or the other, like mitigation or dealing 3 back, it's kind of bad. And there's going to be times when you have to kind of figure out what you want to do with this character. Like if it's, how do I explain this? If it's like kind of mid to late game and you're getting hit with a middling but decently strong attack, like anywhere from 8 to 10, it might be worth it depending on the game state. Like if you are relatively healthy and your opponent's kind of weak, you might want to just take the 3 damage because you don't get a whole lot of damage with this character anyway. Even though theoretically the math is better to block half the damage because you'll be blocking anywhere between 4 and 5. But so there's decision points there with that, and it's not even like guaranteed. Like you lose more than half the time on base value anyway. And then here's the upgrade. It's 3 CP. It's so expensive. It's ridiculous. So what it does do, it does add your tie. So if your roll is equal to or greater than, then you can do the 3. That's all it does. You can do the 3 damage or half. I would have, and it might have been a little bit OP if you did that, but if they would have had and, it would have been crazy. But I think do you get to reroll? Yeah, you may reroll. Do you get to reroll? Oh, I thought you got to reroll on this one. Man, dude, I'm getting everyone mixed up. So you don't even get to reroll on that. I thought you did. I don't know why. So it just adds a little bit extra. So you're now over 50% chance of winning now, is what that does. And it's so expensive. Honestly, I don't even know if this is worth it in most cases, but it might be just because you really, in most scenarios, when you do roll your defense, you're going to want the 3 damage. Like I said, unless it's those outlier cases where they're dealing 8 or more damage and it's early in the game, then yeah, I would take the mitigation. And that's if and only if you don't have evasives, because you're going to want to be using your evasives too. So I don't know, 3 damage is almost always the default for me. And you cannot increase this damage with these tokens. I tried that one time and someone like got on me for it. Like my wife was like, you can't do that. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. All right, there it is. So that's the tokens in the baseboard in a shell or nutshell. Can't have a shell without the nut, right? All right, just ignore I said that. Let's do some rolling. All right, man. Look, we already have a small straight, which is infinitely better than going for a maxed out bullet thing. So honestly, just go for the small straight at that point. Or you can keep rolling to go for the actual straight if you want. Like I said, you're gonna be splitting the small straight with the take cover. So here's the situation. That was a 2. Where's the 2 at? So here's the situation. When you get this, do you settle for this? I don't think so. And complete honestly, I just don't think you settle. So unless it's upgraded, because we do have 2 of a kinds. No, not even then. No, it can't. I don't think you can settle for this. You just don't. It doesn't do anything for you. So I think you either have to go for the straight again here, or try to take cover. Which one do you think has higher odds? I don't actually know that math in my head. I think probably the straight. If we roll 2, get a 4. So this is roll 2. Let's see what we get. Okay. Well, now we have a large straight. Yeah, we have a large straight. Look at that. We have a large straight, and we can kind of fall back on this if need be, if they try to jank it up. So, there you go. Take the large straight. And like I said, this is sort of how you have to play it. This character is very boring, in my opinion. You kind of just go for cover shot and straights. And if you don't get it, which you should get it here, we'll re-roll the 3 because we have a small straight, and then we can go for the coverage shot because we're going to want coverage shot. Now, at this point, I think you just stop. You know, if you whiff on your second roll, you want to have that third roll as like insurance so that if they try to mess with your dice, whatever. But yeah, just take the small straight. If they do mess with your dice, then you can roll again and get whatever you get. Now, obviously, you will take this if it's your third roll and you have to pivot to it, but it's awful. It's just so bad. It's just so bad. I just never want to do it. Oh, now I'm getting all blurry. So I think, yeah, honestly, I think I've kind of shown you everything. Oh, there we go. Bounty. There we go. Give me some bounty. Bingo. I do think, yeah, you kind of have to play this character somewhat, not aggressively, but like more risky. So there is that. So I think if you play this character, you're playing her for the reloads, and you're playing her because you want to be going for a lot of 6s all the time. So I would say use the upgrades that give you 6 bailouts. So like this one, I think is a 6 and then 2 dashes on the bottom here. So that's probably almost an instant buy every time, just because it gives you a 1/6 option. You have a 2/6 option. This one here gives you 3/6 option. So if you like going for ults all the time, but you don't have a lot of economy to like force the ult, you just like to roll, just absolutely roll for it, this might be the character for you. And you kind of have to play her that way, to be completely honest with you. So she's sort of like the barbarian and the moon elf in that way. They sort of lend you towards holding your 6s. So this was my, my little breakdown guide for the Gunslinger. Let me know what I got right and let me know what I got wrong. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.